Hi there, I'm Josh with Dedicated Systems here. Just going to show you the rundown of some of the features of the app, of the McLeod Loadmaster app on the iPhone. Basically, when you log in, it's going to ask for a login and password here, which is going to have the username and password. So it's going to be the first initial of your first name and first initial of your last name, along with the last four of your social security. So, for instance, if the name was Lance Burton, and so it'd be LB, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then his other one would be LB 1, 2, 3, 5, just like that. You would hit OK, and then that would get you logged in. Once you get logged in, it's going to come to this main screen here, which is basically the main screen of the app. So you can see that at the very top it says current assignment, and then it has my loads, which I wish this would say history. Mobile communications, that's basically like getting your messages on your Qualcomm. Motor accidents, OS&D stands for overages, shortages, and damages. Settlements, profile, and if you scroll a little bit further down, it will have our website. Just below that is going to be this video for iPhones, and then also there will be a video for the Android platform. Then if you want to log out, it'll automatically log you out. If you haven't been in it within 72 hours, contact us, which would be an email for payroll@deadsys.com. So that's PAYROLL at D as in dog, E as in Edward, D as in dog, S as in Sam, Y as in yellow, S as in Sam.com. That goes straight to payroll. And then system information is just kind of information about the phone and maybe some setup things. From this system information screen, you can just hit the back button in the upper left-hand corner here. Basically, if you hit that, that'll get you back to the main screen. And from this main screen, I just want to go over a few of these particular toggle switches more in depth. And like I had said before, I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit here, but the My Loads one is basically I would like that to be history. So if you click on this, you actually bring up history of the loads that you've done. Now this, you can go all the way back to the time that we began with this system, which is the middle of June of 2018. So clearly we have a lot of information that you can bring up, but my suggestion is you probably don't want to bring up, at this time where it's already February of 2019, do you really want to bring up that many months worth of data? Probably not. So in the upper right hand corner here, you can see the word filter. If you click on filter, it automatically has a start date in here of 10/30 of 2018. But let's say we wanted to just go back 30 days because we knew that we had a load that we did 30 days ago. Let's even go back a little bit further. Let's say we want to go back 60 days because we knew we did a load over New Year's and we wanted to find that particular load for whatever the reason would be. What you'd want to do is you can either type in the start date just like it is here, like 103/30/2018, and you have to consider it a computer, so you'd have to type in that whole exact date. But if you wanted to make it a little bit simpler, what you could do is you could highlight this whole thing, delete it, and let's say you want to go back 60 days. There's a shortcut here where you could say T stands for today's date, and then you do the minus sign. So that says today's date minus how many days. So we go 60 days and we hit done. It automatically populated just right before Christmas time of 2018. So if we hit save, that's instead of pulling the 108 loads here, now it's only pulling 56 loads. And you can scroll through this and it shows you all the ones that are delivered. If you look, there is also empty miles and loaded miles, and usually you'll see two of the same the order numbers, and these order numbers are very important to us. But basically, if you're a company driver, we're paying you for all miles. So you get paid for empty miles and you get paid for the loaded miles. And typically what we do is we try to pay you those empty miles, those get tacked on to the beginning of the next particular load. So you can always click on a particular load to bring it up, and you can scroll around and you see that there's a last stop, and then there's also this stop sign right here. So if you click on the stops, this is where this just talks about the movement. So this was a particular movement that went from Concord, North Carolina to Dillon, South Carolina. It just kind of talks about it. If you want to go more in depth, you can actually bring up the information about this delivery, and you can click on the right arrow there, and this will bring up more information about where just information about the load in general. Okay, so we're going to back out of this. I'm going to pull up one that is actually delivered, and we're going to go to 259253 because I have some paperwork on that. So this was a particular load that happened back at the beginning of December here. February, and it's 259253, and we look for the loaded version of this. So we want to click on that loaded version, and from there, if you can see that there's a little mark right here, and if that is on there, that it accesses your phone, and you can actually click on that and it'll bring it up in your maps in your system on your phone. It'll use your mapping on your phone, and then you can just kind of zoom out and see like a bird's eye view of where this particular place is. If you want to get back to that particular screen in your app again, you hit the back button, and then it'll bring you back right to the screen. Okay, same thing with contacts. If you want to call that number, you hit the right button. It'll ask you, do you want to call from your phone? And if you wanted to, you'd hit the call button. But since we're not really wanting to call that person, I'm not going to hit the call button right now. And then just below this, again, just like I said before, stops. This is a load that went from Manitowoc to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If dispatch, this is where your pay is being calculated. So if dispatch is telling you something or saying something or asking you something to do, and it's not on here, that's telling me, or that should tell you that something's not correct in the computer system. Please contact your dispatcher and operations there and just say, hey, my app isn't showing what you asked me to do. Can you look into this? I think there might be some kind of issue. And 9 times out of 10 it's completely a mistake, and when you contact them, they can get it fixed, so that way you get paid for the work that you're doing. From this point, we have information about, in the upper right hand corner here, you can kind of see this little box with an arrow on it. That is how you upload images of bills of lading, proof of deliveries, any types of receipts, weekly pay slips, things of that nature. So you can go into imaging on that, and I will get back to that in a second. The capture signature, which is the next thing down, that's something that's kind of really neat, and I just want to show you that shortly here. So if you give me 1 second, what you do is you click on the capture signature, and from there, this screen is kind of sideways right now, so I'm going to flip it. And basically, let's pretend that you went to this delivery and you said, hi, I'm Josh with Dedicated Systems, nice to meet you. And the gentleman says, hi, I'm Joe Blow. I'm going to be the guy that's going to be unloading you today. So Joe Blow, nice enough to tell us his name, that he's the person that's delivering this. What this is good for, and what I tell the drivers is that, hey, can you just get the guy's name and put it in here as Joe Blow? And I will show you in a minute how that transforms to us, not Joe Hollow, but it's going to be Joe Blow. And then you could have them sign it. So you could say Joe Blow. We'll put a little smiley face on there and little dashes over here and stuff like that. And what we can do is we can actually submit this. Now, what I suggest to the drivers is that, do you really want a driver, or do you really want a person that's unloading your truck to touch your phone and possibly drop it, and then who's liable for that dropping of the phone? So basically what I would like you as a driver to do is just get their name and just put a little dash mark or something on there, because that name electronically gets triggered to this order, which is 0259253, and you hit the submit button in the upper right hand corner here, and that'll send it, and it'll give you a little thing saying that it was successfully created, and you hit the OK button, and it'll revert back to this screen again here. Unfortunately, that didn't show up, but it does give you a confirmation showing that it was submitted to our system. And I'm going to log into our system and show you how that looks on our end. On our end, that this particular driver sent in an image, and it shows shipment accepted by Joe Blow, and it timestamps it, which is really handy for if we can't read the consignee or the place that we're delivering to's signature on the proof of delivery. We have a way of being able to say, well, our driver was there and Joe Blow signed for it, and here, by the way, is an image of Joe Blow signing for it. That's how slick this system works. It literally, by the time that you send in this capture signature, it automatically uploads into the mainframe, which is in Birmingham, Alabama, and as soon as it's in there, and it's there for life, which is really, really nice. So that way, if we have to go back 6 months down the road, we can say, well, hey, Joe Blow signed for this particular paperwork, and it's a neat feature to have. I don't ask of the driver to normally, hand their phone over to somebody and then potentially have them drop it. I would recommend that you don't do that. But if you at least can get their name and you can type it in there, this is how it shows up on our end, and it makes it a lot nicer and easier for us to be able to say who signed for this particular load. After the capture signature is done, basically the real meat and potatoes of this particular app that's really, really nice and handy for everybody involved is it keeps the paperwork with the load that it's for. And if you click on this particular icon again, instead of capture image, this time we're going to do capture, or I'm sorry, instead of capture signature, we're going to do capture image. And if you bring up capture image, this is going to be the image. Let's just call this the image main screen. Okay, capture image main screen. So at the very top, it's going to ask you for a document type, and I'll click on that just to give you an idea of the different document types. So bill of lading, lumper and unloading, weight scale slip, driver pay, weekly pay slip, tolls, other maintenance, other miscellaneous time, fuel slips, orages, shortages, and damage, cargo claims, inspection records for DOT, and then proof of delivery is what POD stands for. So if you can think of it this way, the word bill of lading starts at the beginning of the load. When you pick up a load at a shipper, this isn't a trick question, but when you pick up a load at a shipper, there's a difference between a bill of lading and a proof of delivery. The bill of lading is when you pick that load up at the shipper and you get paperwork from the shipper. It just means that it's a bill of the lading of what you're hauling and what's on your truck at the time of shipper. So think of it this way: bill of lading starts with the letter B, and so does the word beginning. So beginning of the load is the bill of lading. All of these things that are in between here can happen up until the time that you deliver the load and the gentleman Joe Blow signs for it as a proof of delivery. So so if you run into a lumper scale slip or any of these things, please send them as what they are in this particular document image. For this particular case, what I'm going to do is I have a proof of delivery for this particular load, so I'm going to click on proof of delivery. Okay, so anything that's down here, there's many images. You can do up to 10 images at one time. Whatever images are down here, and you'll see in a second that there's little thumbnails, and each of these images that are down here, whatever's up here is going to label each of those images what they are. So if you have 3 images and they're all proof of deliveries, send them all as one. And it'll label each one of these as a proof of delivery. Now, if you have a proof of delivery and then you have a lumper and then you have a toll receipt, you want to send them in separately. So you'd send one as a proof of delivery, you'd send that off to us, and then the next one you would send in as a toll receipt, send that off, and then if you had a lumper scale or lumper, you would send that off. So you'd have to do this 3 separate times. It sounds like it's taxing, but it really isn't that difficult. It's not that hard. One of the things that's really important as well is to make sure that you write your load number on the top of the piece of paper that you have for the proof of deliveries. That way, that 0259 number or 0260 number is like our holy grail here. That helps us determine if the image that you sent us via the phone and via the app is a nice, clear, legible image or not. If it isn't, we will be calling you and just asking you to send a better copy. Normally, I would say 99 times out of 100, the images are pretty darn good, because if they look like crap on your phone, they're going to look like crap to us. So just make sure everything's nice and clear and in focus. But if it isn't, we'll call you and let you know that we might need you to retry again, because I know that we're not all professional photographers. I never, we get it. Sometimes things happen and we don't always have the best images there. But getting on to this particular thing, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the little plus sign here to add an image. And then it's going to ask you if you want to take a photo or choose from an existing photo that's in your photos that you keep. Now, 99 times out of 100, you're not going to be choosing from existing photos, because I don't know how many people really want to hold on to copies of proof of deliveries and bills of lading in their images, so in their photo book. So basically, you'll hit take photo, and from there, what you do is this particular load, if you can see, there's pages 1 of 3. So I have page 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3 here. So the first thing that you want to do is just make sure that you get a nice border around. If you can see this border here, and I'll explain this in a second, if you make it too close to the edges, you don't have any finger wiggle room in the next thing, because there's a cropping feature. So the first thing that you want to do is just always turn on your flash, usually helps. Hit the center of the screen to help focus, and then snap the picture. This particular one had enough lighting that the flash didn't work. If you didn't like it, you could say retake, or you could use photos. So for this instance, we're going to just say use photo. So now here's a cropping feature. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the orientation is just like you're reading a book, that the wording is the correct way. We don't want it sideways. If we click this button here, it would rotate the image sideways. We always want to make sure that the image is up and down. The next thing that's important is making sure that these 4 boxes, these 4 corners, include all 4 corners of the proof of delivery. In this case, what we want to do is we want to move this out a little bit, and that's where that finger wiggle room really helps out, to make sure that we get all 4 corners. Because if it doesn't, normally it'll snap to the 4 corners, but if it doesn't, please move them, because anything inside the blue lines is going to be kept. And it's okay to have a little bit of a border past it. I'd rather have too much than too little. So go ahead and snap that, and then in the upper right hand corner is this crop button. Go ahead and hit crop. That automatically now saved it. Anything inside the blue line was kept. Anything outside the blue line was erased. It was basically cropped out of the picture. So the next step is, this comes to a filter screen right here. You have a bunch of different options down at the bottom. I always suggest to keep the far left one seems to be the best for us. We do not want to have like a grayscale. Like, see how there's kind of like this gray in here? Unfortunately, what happens is it may look good to you on your end, but it goes through a filter. This particular filter that you apply, which you're applying here, goes through a filter to Birmingham, Alabama. Then unfortunately, it goes through another filter to us. And what happens a lot of times is this gray turns to black, and then you can't see the letters behind it. So what I always say is I suggest use this far left one. And then what you can do is you can do like a pinch zoom with your fingers and zoom in and just make sure that everything is kind of legible, that you can read all the numbers, everything looks good on it. If everything looks good, you can just go ahead and hit the apply button up here. And you hit apply. Now we have page 1 of 3 taken care of. We still have to do the other 2 pages. And so what we do is we want to hit this plus sign right here. We want to add page 2. Same thing before. Take photo or choose from existing. We're going to take a photo. We're going to move this one over. Same thing. We're just going to get it up nice so that you have a nice edge around it. And I'm going to kind of blaze through this a little bit faster. So here we're going to use this photo. We're going to make sure that all the 4 corners are in the photo and it's upright, which is perfect. We're going to crop that one. And we're just going to zoom in. Yep, everything looks nice and clear. It's legible. Actually, Cody Cobb really did sign for this, not Joe Blow, but I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. Go ahead and hit the apply button in the upper right hand corner. There I am. Okay, and then we're going to do one more proof of delivery, which is page 3 of 3. So if we hit that, take photo, and hit the center of the screen to help focus, and then tap on it, use photo. This one just got the right hand side just a little bit off. Once you get that, go ahead and hit crop. It'll bring up this, same thing, just pinch zoom, make sure that everything looks like it's within reading. You know, everything is nice and in focus, which it does look like that. So we're going to hit apply. Now the very last step, so this is completely interchangeable even at this point. Like let's say, oh shoot, I fat fingered it and it really wasn't a proof of delivery. It was a bill of lading. See, I can still change that at this point. Everything is interchangeable. You can delete things out of here. If you wanted to, all you'd have to do is hold on this image and it'll ask you if you delete, and then you just hit that delete button. But since we don't want to delete it, I'm not going to do that. But so if you have a bad image here, just hold, and then it'll ask you to delete it, and then just go ahead and add a nice clear picture if you want at that point. So from this particular point, we're going to send it in as a proof of delivery. That's the type of document. So it's going to name each page of this, page 1, page 2, and page 3, all as a proof of delivery. And so what you do is you hit save, and it's going to give us this code, which is going to be 5M9684. And what happens is, what's really cool about this is you go ahead and hit OK. So I'm going to just bring up my camera for a second just to show you video. So what I do is I normally write on the back of this, I'm going to write POD and then have that code. The reason why I have that code is, let's say you pick up a load and you do the load and you deliver it, and then you see that there's a code on the back, but you might not remember. If you do it in real time, you'll remember a lot easier. But if you don't do it in real time, what you want to do is you want to write down, okay, hey, I sent in a bill of lading, and you have a code, right? And then, oh, I sent in a proof of delivery, and then here's the code. So this is kind of like your reminder to you if you sent in a bill of lading and a proof of delivery. Now, some drivers ask me, am I supposed to be sending in a bill of lading and a proof of delivery? There's a caveat to that. We would love that you'd send in bills of lading and a proof of delivery. Reason being is it makes it a lot easier for us to locate that paperwork. Let's say, for instance, you pick up a load and you drop it at a drop yard and then somebody else delivers it. And unfortunately, let's say you forgot to put the paperwork on the glad hand or duct tape it. The next thing you know, here the driver that's supposed to be delivering the load, it doesn't have the paperwork because you still have it or you didn't send it in. So unfortunately, if you didn't snap a copy of the bill of lading, we wouldn't have a copy and we'd have to contact you to get that bill of lading, and then somehow we'd have to figure out how to get it to the driver. But if you sent it in and you had that code and you applied it to the correct load, that would make it so much easier for us, because then we already have it in our system because we got that confirmation code. We already have it in our system, and we can send it to the delivering driver or to the place that they're delivering to, so that way they have it when the driver gets there to be able to sign it and give them a copy to be able to scan the proof of delivery then. Okay, so that really makes it a lot nicer. So just be particular about if there's more than one page, please send us all pages. If there's only one page and it says page 1 of 1, just send that page, but just make sure that that particular signature is on there and everything is nice and clear. So once you get that confirmation code, it's really, really nice to be able to see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back up to the system and just show you on this 259253 0259253, and I'm going to bring up here, it says proof of delivery. Here's that same code again, and if we bring up that image, I'm going to have to find where that image is. 1 second here. Okay, here it is. So here's page 1, looks great. Here's page 2, and here's page 3. Everything came nice and clear. You can see the guy's signature, the whole 9 yards. So that really makes it a lot nicer to figure out, like, basically, everything looks really, really good in there. And that's a nice, clean picture. Now, I do get questions every now and then, like, Josh, what's this? What are these other image types? And so I'm going to go through them a little bit more in detail here. The image types again. So if we go to capture image and we look at these image types, pretty much what we would like to see is that when you pick up the load, you have the bill of lading, and then if you have a lumper receipt, send it in as a lumper receipt. So if we pay you a comm check to pay for that lumper receipt, and let's say we send a comm check for $150 for a lumper receipt, and you provide a $150 lumper receipt, that means that money will get reimbursed to you, that you don't get charged for it. But let's say you ask for $175 and the lumper was only $150, so there's a difference of $25. Well, then that $25 would be deducted off the paycheck. Weight scale slips, a lot of times that there are particular loads when you get them in workflow that they ask for a heavy and lightweight scale slip. Either way, just please send them in as part of the load, and please write that order number on the weight scale slip, so that way we can just, if you're sending in with the load, it should be fine. But if you can, just get in the habit of writing that load number on that scale slip, so that way we can get it applied back to you if you're paying cash, or if you're most likely paying with a comm data card, we just have a paper trail of having the weight scale slips, and they're going to be with the load that requires a weight scale slip, which is good. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking at your air gauge on your truck and it looks like it's really heavy and you think you're getting close on your scale, by all means, we want you to go ahead and scale that, but please send it in so that way we have a copy with the load. All this paperwork just stays with the load forever, so it's kind of nice. It kind of tells a tale. Now, the driver weekly pay slip, at the end of the week, you have usually Saturday nights at midnight is the cutoff time, and so I'll go into more detail in a second on that. But tolls are pretty self-explanatory. Any other receipts, if you had to pay for fuel with cash for whatever reason, if there's a time slip that you needed to put on, any miscellaneous receipts, like let's say you had to have straps with the load or something like that, please send them in as other. Overages, shortages, and damages, please let us know. But this is where you would send pictures of that damage. Now remember, it's only going to be in black and white. So my suggestion at that point is please let dispatch know, but take pictures with your phone. And if you could send those colored pictures to dispatch, that would be great. And we'll get them in a cargo claim or whatever the issue would be on that. But if you do have some black and white photos, or if you can snap some pictures, go ahead and click on the OS&D and just snap some pictures of maybe the damaged product or whatever not, and send it in, and it'll be time stamped, and it'll stay with that load. Inspection record, that is with the DOT. If you get a driver inspection or a vehicle inspection, please send it in under the load that you're on at the time of the inspection. Now, if you're currently not on a load, but you happen to be bobtailing or deadheading somewhere, just put it under your current assignment load or the next one down in the line. That will work great. And then POD stands for proof of delivery. That is the signed bill of lading of when you deliver to the place that it's supposed to deliver to. Now, I have some drivers that ask me, hey Josh, I'm picking up this load and I'm bringing it to the drop yard. Do I sign that and send it in as a POD? And the answer is no. All you need to do is send in the bill of lading when you pick up the load. And if you drop it in the drop yard, just leave it as a bill of lading. You did just fine. And the other driver that picks up that load and gets that paperwork, and when he delivers or she delivers that load, that will be considered a proof of delivery for them to send it. Okay? All right, so we're going to cancel back out of here. We're going to discard this because we don't want that. We are going to hit back. So that is more of it in a nutshell. Sometimes when you see loads, some will say in progress and some will say delivered and some will say available. Now, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Delivered, it's a delivered load, but progress means that you picked it up and you departed the shipper. One thing that I wanted to add about the weekly pay slip was basically how do you add your weekly pay slip. The driver's week ends Saturday night at midnight, and basically what you do is you go to a loaded load, your last completed loaded load, which in this case would be this particular driver would have this one to be able to add that image. So he or she would click in here, and in the upper right hand corner, just the same way that you'd add a normal image for any bill of lading or proof of delivery, but the document type that you want to name it is going to be your weekly pay slip. And on that weekly pay slip, please have your order numbers, your in and out times, all the information that recruiting and the person that hired you had mentioned to you during the time of hire. If you have any further questions about that, you can feel free to call us at any time and talk to somebody in payroll. They can explain that a little bit better. But from here, what we would like you to do is be able to add the images of your weekly pay slip. It's going to label whatever you have here for your weekly pay slip, and let's say you had some cash receipts as well. Please include those all as one at one time and send those in to us. If you could put your name on there and possibly a load number that it's in relation to, that would be great. But basically what it will do is this will send up a red flag to us in the imaging side of the system to see that you sent us a driver weekly pay slip. This grabs our attention first, and what we do is we send it over to payroll so that they can process that early Monday morning for that Friday's payroll. Some drivers ask the question about, hey, I'm driving over the weekend and I'm leaving, let's say, Florida on a Friday and I'm delivering South Carolina on a Monday morning. Should I add that to my pay slip or not? And my answer to them has always been that if you as a driver would like to get paid for that particular load on that pay week, you are more than welcome to write it on there. Only if it's delivering Monday morning, so that way it's a complete and delivered load by the time payroll gets to it Monday afternoon. If it's not delivering until Tuesday or Wednesday, unfortunately, you're going to have to stop your pay slip for whatever is on that prior Friday's evening. We cannot split a load halfway through a run, unfortunately. So what we ask is just write down wherever you're finishing your week out at to make that your starting point for the following week. And then once you're done with those that driver weekly pay slip, you get it into us, it'll set up a red flag to us that we'll see it, and we will get it to payroll to process. If the image was sent through as a bill of lading or a proof of delivery, we might not catch it in time, and we always want to make sure that we have your weekly pay slips by noon on Monday morning. From here, we'll go back to the main screen, which will hit the back button up in the upper left-hand corner here. The current assignment would be the load that you're currently on. So let's just click on that, and it's going to show stops in the next stop. And we kind of already discussed that before. Anything that's particularly important to the load, it'll kind of talk about it on that. It's very user-friendly that way. But you may notice that the order number, this is the number that we would like on all bills of lading / proof of deliveries and or all, on your weekly pay slip, that order number. This is kind of the holy grail. This is the easiest way for us to locate paperwork in the system and or possibly maybe not in the system, and it's a good reference for us to be able to find those images. And when you are done sending in your proof of deliveries, please always hand in your originals to us at the office. Try to get them in to us once a week, either to the drop yard. Just if you can, try to get the originals to us. They're better in our hands instead of sitting in your hands for many weeks at a time. And there might be something that maybe there's a sticker on the back of a proof of delivery or something like that for Sam's Club, and you forgot to send that in. That seems to be a case sometimes in the proof of delivery. So please always write this order number on here. But you may notice that there's also a movement number. So I kind of want to explain to you how the movement number versus what the order number is, okay? So I'm going to bring up my video again, my camera, and you can kind of see my hands here. So let's pretend that you pick up a load. Let's just say that a load was picked up in Appleton, Wisconsin, okay? And then it had to go all the way down to South Carolina for delivery, okay? Let's just say wherever. Let's just say it went to Dillon, okay? So let's say our office up here in Green Bay, there was one driver that picked up the load from Appleton to Green Bay, and then another driver, let's say that was you, that brought it down to Dillon, okay? So there's like two different parts to it. So think of it this way. Think of it like a stick, okay? And you take that stick and you break it into two pieces. So you have piece one here, piece two here. Or in our system, it's considered a movement. So you have one movement for this driver and one movement for this driver. But the actual load that we bill our customer from Appleton to here would be considered the order, okay? So we have one particular load that we're billing our customer, but we are showing that we're relaying this between two different drivers or two different movements. So going back to the screen, when you see movement up here, This is just one of the possible many movements in that particular order, um, that that's there. So think of it like a stick that gets broken into a couple different pieces or a couple different movements. So please always just uh, refer to the order number when you're writing it on your bills of lading or the proof of deliveries or any other pieces of paperwork, and that are tied to that particular order or that particular load. Another thing that I wanted to mention as well is that when you're sending in these images, um, the the customer requires all proof of deliveries of all pages, and if you don't send them in for the particular load that you're on, or if you tack them on to a different load, please don't do that. It makes more work, more work for everybody involved. Because yes, there is a way for us to get it to the right place, but could you just it would be nice if you could just be able to apply it to the load that is. It's fairly simple. I showed you how to filter, find the filter of the dates and things like that. While I'm back in here, I just wanted to go over another thing here where uh, before you could do T minus 60 days or T minus 30, right? So we're going to just go back 30 days. But if you wanted to say, I wanted that 10-day period, so you'd go T minus 10 and then T minus 20, and that'll give you a 20-day snapshot of the loads that you did. Like, let's say you're looking for a particular load that happened between that time. There's also this toggle switch of loaded only and unloaded. If you weren't looking for an empty movement, but just a loaded movement, you could just click that on. So when you see blue, that means it's on, and you'd be able to say, oh, I'm just looking for delivered loads between this time. If you hit save, now there was only 3 loads that were moved during that particular time. So I just want to let you know that this filter is a really handy thing. If you leave this blank, it'll leave it open-ended to today's date. And if you want to only go back 7 days, I typically say just do T minus 7. That way it doesn't take a long time to load up. And then I would say show all your empty moves and your loaded moves by clicking this off, and then go ahead and hit save. Now this kind of gives you a little bit more detail as far as your tractor number, the trailer number that it's on, and this order number to be written on all the bills of lading and the proof of deliveries. Now from the main screen, if you go back to the main screen and under current assignments, um, this is information again about your pay, that if you click on the stops area right down here and you click on that and it's not showing what exactly you're doing and what dispatch asks you to do, please contact dispatch, because that means that something is added incorrectly into the system, and it should reflect what you're doing. And if it's not, please advise them of that, because this is directly related to your pay. Okay, so back to the main screen. There's a mobile communications button here. This is like your Qualcomm. So you can see your messages on your Qualcomm that are in your truck. You can click on that. You can, in the upper part of this area, this is a filter button. You can select what you want to see, inbound and outbound, or just inbound only, or outbound messages, whatever you're looking. And then you can show only unread messages or days to show. That's all changeable, and you hit the save button up here. Basically that save button will show you, save those things. But I would just say leave it open-ended, show all inbound and outbound, and 16 days is fine. And then go ahead and hit back, and then you can kind of see some of these messages that this particular driver has on their phone. But you can read them, and you can also reply from this area by clicking in it, replying, and it's just like you're being in your truck sending a message, and dispatch will get that message from there. Motor accidents, if that happens, that's kind of self-explanatory. You can kind of see, just walk through the steps where the plus sign, it might just add add basically a motor accident from that point. Since we don't have a motor accident, we're going to go back. Next thing down is overages, shortages, and damages. Same thing. You can go in there, you can hit the plus sign and add overages, shortages, and damages. And going back to the main screen, you can see just below that is settlements. Settlements will be your paychecks, and there's a filter button on there. Same thing like with your My Loads section here with the filter. You can change the dates on that the same way that we did with your history of your loads, with the T-7 for 7 days back, or T-21 for 3 weeks back, things like that. So there's also, it shows like pending settlements that payroll is working on, and then past settlements of most recent paychecks. Going into the profile, just below that is, if you could, please set that up as one of your first things. So as soon as this video is done, if you could go to your profile, and it will ask you for your phone number, your name, the company, which would be Dedicated Systems, and then just an email that you'd like images that could possibly get sent to your phone or to that email address for proof of deliveries and bills of lading and weekly pay slips and things like that. On behalf of myself and the dedicated team, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have any further questions about this system, please feel free to give me a call at the numbers below. My extension is 103. My name is Josh. This is my father, Mike Sr., my nephew Quaid, and my brother MJ. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn this app, but it's very valuable and it helps everybody in the business be more efficient. So with that, I thank you, and please drive safe out there.